you know, oftentimes when we talk about mental health, we think about adults. So I'm really happy to have Felicia Anderson here with me today. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and a lot of your work is also with children.
Yes, I love the kids. Love the kids, right? Absolutely. So at Gateway Community Service Board, one of my roles is director of our child and adolescent mental health services in our coastal Georgia area, so Effingham County all the way down to Camden County.
And so many people, you know, back in the olden days, if a kid said, "Oh, I'm so stressed," most adults would say, "What do you have to worry about? You're just a kid. Go outside and play." But we've learned through the years, it's so much bigger than that.
Right. All right. You'll hear, go lay down somewhere. you stressed. You don't have no bills, right?
Exactly.
Right. And so, no, kids absolutely experience anxiety and stress and depression and a lot of mental health symptoms that adults experience as well. And one special thing about children is that the frontal lobe in their brain is not fully developed until about the mid-20s, right? And so that executive functioning that the frontal lobe is responsible for impacts their functioning as well. And so if you think back on some times when you were younger, some of the decisions and the things that you experienced or did, it's like, ooh, I don't know how I made through it, right? So imagine that with a kid right now and the world that they are exposed to can have a huge impact on their mental health.
So how do you know that your child may need some assistance?
Yeah, so if your baby does not have that spark anymore, they are sleeping a lot, right, or barely can sleep. A big sign, especially with children, is irritability and anger. And so sometimes we like to say kids are bad, right? Or moody. And we don't want to say that anymore. When we think about bad, I break it down with BAD. Maybe it is behaving with anxiety and depression, okay? And that irritability, that anger, or that frustration can show up. And it may not be the kid just acting out or negative attention seeking. They may not have the language to express some deep-rooted feelings or experiences they have experienced or seen. And that goes into trauma and all that. And if your little one does not, little one or big one, you know, we're talking about kids and teenagers, if they don't want to do some things that they once enjoyed or spend time with their friends, especially teenagers, if it's one thing if they don't want to hang out with mommy and dad anymore, right? Or their older siblings or younger siblings. But when they don't even want to hang out with any peers their age, that can be a sign. And if they share any suicidal thoughts, right? Not want to live anymore, don't want to be here, they're not happy, that can be some signs and symptoms of we need to get this baby some more support.
So the support in many of the school districts, are there still counselors at the schools and connections with resources like yours? So they can refer them, right?
Absolutely. So all schools have a school counselor. And whether it's one school counselor there or one school counselor, and they kind of bounce around, but every school has access to a school counselor and a school social worker. Gateway Community Service Board, we have our amazing program called our Georgia Apex program. And with the Georgia Apex program in coastal Georgia, we serve 17 schools where we provide a licensed clinical mental health therapist directly in the school. And so Johnny may be experiencing some depression symptoms. He go to science 1 hour, he goes see his therapist the next hour, and then he goes to the gym. But it helps to break down those barriers to getting young people the mental health support they need.
That is wonderful. So suppose there is a family who, I know sometimes there's only one counselor in the schools, and that's stressful for the counselor with all those students. But the parents are just trying to find their way outside of the school. I'm assuming that we're talking about Front Porch and Gateway.
Yes.
That could help them in terms of a source that won't be too expensive for them.
Absolutely. So the Front Porch is a multi-agency resource center in Chatham County, and it's a one-stop shop. So if there's a young person anywhere in Chatham County that need mental health support or other resources, they can go to the Front Porch, get a needs assessment with their guardian, and get connected to valuable resources in the community. All free of charge.
That is wonderful.
Yes.
And every community has something similar.
Absolutely. There are different networks. And again, you can always reach out to Gateway Community Service Board and we will get you connected to those resources, whether they're internally or we connect you with a community partner.
You talked some about the mental illness factor and how early it can start with children. What, 50% lifetime mental illness begins at 14?
Yes. 1 out of 2 kids, if they experience a mental health symptom or disorder, the symptoms started before the age of 14. And so we start seeing some signs in elementary and middle school that a young person may need a little bit more support. And just to destigmatize child mental illness and disorders, it's not that something wrong with a child. It's just the child experiencing life in a different way, okay? And so oftentimes where we stigmatize and say, oh, is something wrong with him, we add more pressure to that child. And if we're going to support young people and all people in a trauma-informed way, we want to really look at, instead of what is wrong with this person, what has happened to this person.
Exactly.
To get them the support that they need.
Well, we also know that it's easy for people to sometimes just discount what the children are going through, but we also know that suicide is a very real problem when it comes to young people.
Suicide is a big problem, and it's one of the top things that cause death with young people here in the state of Georgia. And so we have to take it seriously, and it's okay to ask a young person, an old person, or whoever, are you thinking about killing yourself? Do you want to die? Ask those serious, direct questions to get better insight on what they are going through. And you are not alone in regards to what's the next step. 988. I should have came here with the t-shirt on, right? But 988 is a 24/7 crisis hotline that you can call and get a person the help they need. Do not brush it off and just assume that they're not really gonna kill themselves or they're not gonna really hurt themselves. You don't want to sleep with that. You don't want to worry about that. You want to get that young person the help that they need, and 988 is a great resource.
Well, a mysterious collapse in Oklahoma